All right, today we are diving headfirst into a digital battlefield. Our guide for this is the 2026 India Cyber Threat Report from CERT, and it gives us this incredible and, frankly, kind of scary look at the attacks happening right now in one of the world's fastest-growing digital economies. Let's just kick things off with a number that really sets the scale here. 505. That is how many cyber threats are detected in India every single minute. This isn't some slow drip, it's a flood, a constant, relentless barrage. And then, when you zoom out from that minute-by-minute assault, the numbers just get insane. Over a single year, across just the 8 million devices they monitored, we're talking about over 265 million threats detected. The sheer volume is just staggering, and it paints a really, really clear picture. Because what all this data really shows us is a fundamental change in how these attacks work. We're not talking about isolated hacks or the occasional virus anymore. This is a perpetual digital siege where automated systems are just constantly probing, constantly attacking India's digital infrastructure 24/7. And that's the key, right? This is the new normal. The bad guys aren't just sitting around waiting for an opportunity anymore. They are actively, continuously, and automatically scanning for any weakness they can possibly exploit. The digital world has basically gone from a place with occasional storms to a state of constant, unending conflict. So, what are these 265 million attacks, really? What do they look like? Let's get into the anatomy of the attack and break down the actual weapons being used in this digital war. Okay, now take a look at this. This chart is fascinating because it shows you exactly what we're up against. We hear about all kinds of different crazy attacks, but you can see right here that just two categories, Trojans and something called infectors, make up the huge majority of them. This really gives us the lay of the land. So, at the very top of the charts, accounting for a massive 43% of all detections, are Trojans. Just think of them as the master key. They're the primary tool for infiltration. They disguise themselves as some harmless piece of software, but once they're inside your system, they just throw the gates wide open for everything else, stealing your data, spying on you, or deploying even more destructive stuff. They are truly the backbone of modern cybercrime. And coming in at a close second are file infectors. These are kind of like the classic viruses that literally piggyback on legitimate files. They infect a program and then they spread. The fact that these are still so common, well, that tells a story all on its own. It shows you just how much danger is still out there from old, unpatched, and outdated software that so many organizations are still running. And this slide, this is brilliant. It perfectly illustrates the two competing philosophies in cybercrime right now. On one side, you've got ransomware. It's loud, it's destructive, it makes the news. It's actually less than 1% of all detections, but each single attack has a massive, massive impact. But then on the other side, you have the rise of cryptojacking, this silent, stealthy threat that doesn't want you to know it's there. It just quietly hijacks your computer's power to mine cryptocurrency. It's way less dramatic, for sure, but it's a steady, low-risk cash cow for criminals. Okay, so we know what the weapons are. We've seen the Trojans, we've seen the silent thieves, but where are these weapons actually being aimed? Let's shift our focus now to the who and the where, the front lines of this whole cyber siege. And it turns out, these attacks are anything but random. They are laser-focused on where the money and the power are. It is absolutely no coincidence that Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Delhi are the top 3 targets. As India's biggest economic and administrative nerve centers, they just represent the juiciest targets and the biggest potential payday for cybercriminals. And if we look at which industries are getting hit the hardest, a really clear pattern emerges. Almost half of all attacks are aimed at just 3 sectors: education, healthcare, and manufacturing. And this isn't just some abstract corporate problem, right? This means your medical records, your kids' school data, it's all at risk. These sectors are prime targets because a lot of times they have tight budgets for IT, they're running on older systems, and they have a critical need to stay online, which makes them super vulnerable to things like extortion. So who's actually behind all this? Well, it's a hybrid. It's a mix of crime and ideology. On one side, you have these highly organized, professional ransomware gangs that are purely in it for the profit. And on the other, you have politically motivated hacktivists who are all about causing chaos and making a political statement. So, we've seen the present. We've seen what's happening right now. But honestly, the report's most chilling findings are all about the future. So, let's take a look at where this is all going. What does that next wave of attacks actually look like? And this is it.
This is a key forecast from the report, and it's a pretty profound one: the era of cognitive intrusions. I mean, that sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But it signals a fundamental change in the nature of cyber warfare itself. So, what in the world is a cognitive intrusion? Well, to put it simply, it's an attack that thinks. Instead of some pre-written piece of code, imagine an AI that can hunt for a weakness on its own, create a perfectly tailored, context-aware phishing email to a specific employee, and then actually change its own code on the fly to get past any security it runs into. That is the new reality we're heading towards. What this really means is that the battlefield is evolving beyond just code. It's now about context. The attacks of the future will actually understand their environment and react intelligently. And that means our defenses have to do the same. They can't just be reactive anymore. They have to become predictive and autonomous, just to fight an enemy that can literally think. And that brings us to the final and most critical question of all. This isn't science fiction anymore. This is the immediate future. As the threats we face become truly intelligent, as they learn to evolve and adapt in real time, the challenge is no longer just about building higher walls. It's about being able to outthink the attack itself. So I'll just leave you with this to ponder. As cyber attacks learn to think, how in the world do we stay ahead?